Hey ladies, welcome back to the Girl Boss Method. So, today, how your food and gut health affect your motivation. So, I think this is a really important one for us to cover. And it's been brought about from some of the conversations or even the conversations that we've had with the ladies inside the crew. And then also from some of your check-ins as well. So I thought it would be really interesting to kind of set May up and understand why we really need to focus on good nutrition and also thinking about how this affects our overall gut health and our motivation as well. It really is true, right? Especially if we've kind of just been thinking. I know that when we think about nutrition, there's so many different like levels to it. And you might be thinking, right, I just want to focus on tracking and getting my calories and just focusing on the calories. It's so important that we kind of think about everything almost being either you can envision it as being like a pyramid, actually, at the top of the pyramid, the stuff that we need to kind of tackle that's the most important, and then working on those bits as we work through. Okay, so just a kind of reminder as well for those of you that are just joining, you've probably had days, maybe in April this last month, where you've wanted to stay on track, but your body is just not cooperating. You're feeling low on energy and feeling unmotivated, bloated, and maybe irritable as well. And we know that, again, things around life, we can't always change them. But I want us to really focus today on how what we eat and how our gut feels massively affects how we end up showing up within our fitness journey as well. So, firstly, I want to kind of talk about what gut health actually is. So, just a reminder here, we're not diagnosing any gut disorders. We're just talking about, again, how our everyday food choices can impact how our body and our mind feel day to day. So, just bringing it back to that. So, gut, well, it equals our digestive system, right? So, we've got our stomach, our intestines, and our microbiome. And our microbiome is obviously something that has been talked about more recently over the last 2 years, I'd say. And again, the impact of that as well. And really thinking about that whole second brain vibe as well. And this sort of party that's almost happening within your gut. That's what I kind of think of when I think of gut microbiome. It's this sort of field of all these different things occurring, right? These different bacterias and stuff, right? So then when we think about gut health, what this equals is how well your body is digesting food, how well it's absorbing food, and how it's eliminating food. So thinking about taking it in, thinking about using the food that we're taking in, and also how we're getting rid of it and how we're disposing it. So signs that it might be off will be things like your bloating, your like irregular bowel movements, possibly even experiencing the brain fog as well, low mood, fatigue, and poor recovery as well. And we're thinking about poor recovery, just sort of how we're feeling day to day, how we're feeling from a response of sleep, from any stress, and from training as well. All of those things affect it as well. And again, we know with brain fog that, again, what's this coming from? Is it the effects of perimenopause, or do we need to kind of actually think a little bit more in simple terms and go, well, actually, how's this being affected by everything that's going on with our gut? So again, as I sort of mentioned, the whole second brain scenario, right? It's called that for a reason, and that's the whole idea with the sort of stuff that's been the research, if you like, that's been done over the last couple of years, and maybe the interest as well in terms of this gut microbiome biome and this party or this happy party occurring in your gut. So again, it's just talking about how that connection is there. So this is interesting, but 90 to 95% of your serotonin, your sort of mood regulating hormone, is made in your gut. And again, if the gut is off, you're going to get low energy, you're going to be irritable, it's going to start triggering those cravings, and you're just going to have low drive, right? If your gut's sitting in a, the party, all the bacteria in there are sitting in, in an inflammatory process, or there's an imbalance, that's going to equal feeling sluggish, unmotivated, and anxious as well. So yeah, if your gut is inflamed, it's going to be very likely that your brain feels foggy as well, because you're trying to run on or you're trying to run your life on 5% battery. So what can we do to support our gut and our energy? That's the stuff that we want to know, right? If we know that we're in this place and in this space and it's feeling off, well, what can we do to where can the nutrition come in, right? And this is why it's so important. And it's not just ticking off the calorie total. It's thinking about everything else. So what we can do is encourage more high fiber foods. And again, ladies, this is why I will tell you to do things like screenshot your fiber totals for the week, or allow me access to go and see and spy on your diaries to see where your fiber is kind of sitting. Again, when we are thinking about fiber, we are aiming around 25 to 35 grams of fiber within that content. So when we're thinking about those foods, yes, it's including your veggies, your fruits, your oats, lentils, whole grains. And it sounds really tough to hit this, but plant diversity, especially when we're thinking about feeding that microbiome, that happy party occurring in the gut. You want 20 to 30 different types of plants a week in an ideal scenario. So again, how could we do this? Again, if we're thinking about veggies. So this is another thing actually that's I've not actually documented here, but when they did the whole thing on the 5 a day, and the government came up with the 5 a day, or they made it a 7 a day. In actual fact, it was supposed to be 11 a day. It was supposed to be 11, portions of fruit and veg, or whole grains in that sense as well, per day. And yes, things like your lentils actually form part of that as well. Maybe even thinking about it as sort of plant foods in that perspective, but they wanted us to focus on 11 for good health. And it was brought down to five or seven, because that seemed like a more achievable target for people to hit, because the general population was really poor at doing this. If you think about the amount of fast foods, etc., that we've got on dial, on offer, the Deliveroo, the Uber Eats, and even when you walk around the supermarket, it's just full of certain types of very highly processed foods, straight off the cuff. If you want to go and look for plant diversity, you really do have to stab around. And then when we come on to fermented foods, which again have been encouraged, and again, maybe you're starting to see more of this in the supermarket, your sauerkraut, your kimchi, again, your live yogurts, your Yakults, and all of those sorts of things. You do have to kind of look for them as well. And quite often they're in dairy options, or non-dairy options are in the dairy aisle. You can find them there. And when we are thinking about the kimchis and the sauerkraut, or any other sort of fermented products, so even tempeh as well, you are having to search for them. You're having to find them, and they'll often be in the more world food aisle. Hydration, so important to make sure you're getting water. Again, for most of us, we know the generic sort of 2 liters a day. Some of us that might be 2.5, it might even be 3.5. It all depends on how active you're being as well. And believe it or not, you get people out there that never hydrate, they never drink, they just literally again, no wonder they're going to feel off if they're relying on things like sodas and stuff constantly, whether that's full sugar sodas, or that's a whole different topic, or even the low calorie options. Just relying on those as your form of fluid is not good. So it's really important that you stay hydrated, and then actually eating slowly and chewing properly. And again, I'm another person that, well, and another advocate for this as well, is doing this whilst not consuming media. So when you're watching television, or when you're watching your phone and you're watching Netflix, or you're scrolling on your phone, you're not really being present with the act of eating with your food as well. If you're amongst family and stuff, it's also, again, in some cultures they put the whole, they put the fork down in between. It's just great also to release those digestive enzymes. You're not going to be swallowing extra air when you're eating. You're going to be mindful when you're eating. You're also going to become more full as well. By chewing slowly and chewing properly, you're going to start releasing those satiety hormones, namely leptin. Leptin, to feel and signal that fullness. And actually, do you know what? I do want to go back to that with the eating slowly. I thought this was really interesting. Somebody told me today that actually it was my sister that was telling me about the baby-led weaning stuff, that a whole part of that was not doing the food and feeding your children in front of the telly, like just getting away from the screens as well. So I thought that was really interesting. That was something that was encouraged from early on as well. And it just shows, doesn't it? It's us as adults as well. It's not great for us. So goes without saying, limiting the ultra processed foods. So we know that this stuff can be quite great or quite good for convenience, especially when we're living very busy, stressful lives. Sometimes we do need to rely on this stuff. However, or we need to have this stuff, right? But we don't want to rely on it. So we don't want to limit it, because this stuff is going to be high in the sort of additives, low in fiber, which again, we need the fiber for our gut, and we don't want to overdo it on the sort of sugar fixes. Again, when we're using our calories, yes, it's good to have some play and some to stop us going sort of mentally crazy and stuff. I am an advocate for sort of thinking about sort of 10 or 20% of your calories being towards something fun or nice. So we're not being, we're not excluding things. We're not also then setting ourselves up for maybe binge eating or viewing foods in different ways. But it's just thinking about limiting stuff. And then also excess caffeine on an empty stomach. It's not going to feel great. It's going to feel quite irritating or irritating to the gut. Overeating all in one go. Again, overeating could probably happen when you are watching TV or you're scrolling. You're not being present. You're eating fast. That's the stuff that's going to lead into overeating. And yeah, irregular meal timings. If you're all over the space, all over the time, all over the all over the day with different meal times and stuff, that's not going to be helpful. I was listening again to, gosh, I can't pinpoint it, but Huberman. I've mentioned him before, and I was mentioning he's a neuroscientist. And I was listening to one of his podcasts as well about meal timings and how it's really important for your circadian rhythm, and actually even when you're traveling as well, to try and eat at local meal times. Maybe there's some goodness in that as well. Movement. Why does movement help support our gut and mood? Well, movement is actually going to help gut motility. It's going to help, the movement's going to help stimulate digestion. The exercise, again, can help improve that gut motility. I've just repeated myself, help lower the inflammation there. Short walks after meals can help with that bloating and that blood sugar level as well. So again, when we're thinking about those short walks, when you have had a meal, the Japanese do something very interesting. They believe in only being 80% full, and I'm sure other cultures feel or kind of have that thing as well, have that idea of being 80% full and then opting for a walk as well. Again, it comes from hormonal responses. If you're eating fast, you don't know when you're full. If you stop and you go, right, I'm 80% full, and you wait, maybe that response to fullness will be triggered slightly later. And then you'll feel the fullness. I don't know if you've ever experienced that where you've eaten and you've gone, right, I'm not quite full, but I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna do the whole second plate or second serving and just gonna wait before I go up and have a second helping. Um, that could also there could also be something in that. Yeah. And then, gosh, you can tell I'm affected by the heat right now. I had to turn off my fan, otherwise you would have heard that the whole way through this. Even 10 to 15 minutes of strength training or mobility work can help improve your mood. So even when you're not feeling so great, just getting in and doing some mobility. And again, yeah, this is why I do encourage you to move, even when you're feeling a bit meh, because the idea of movement is not about burning calories. That's not why we do it. There's obviously, we're banking the muscle, we're building the lean muscle tissue, we're prioritizing, good movement health as well. It's also about shifting your state of mind as well, releasing those endorphins and feeling good. So let's think about it. You might be feeling bloated and therefore skip workouts. Well, actually, in that scenario, your solution again, you might have had a situation when you had something funny to eat, or maybe you had really bad sleep, and as a result, maybe you're feeling a bit bloated or feeling a bit crap. Your solution is to get out and get some light walking done, hydrate, focus on simpler meals, so not all these like fancy meals that are really overly cooked and prepared, just going light with it. Again, maybe having a plate where you have some boiled potatoes, for example, or you have a side of your protein source that you like. So for example, for me, that might be like some tofu, and again, mildly, it won't be like heavily marinated or anything. It might just be air fried, for example, and then I might put some salt and maybe even, oh gosh, sounds really boring, but some salt and pepper. Might be lightly seasoned, for example. Just being really simple with it, and then having those veggies as well, that maybe the veggies are steamed or they're grilled, for example. But there's not loads of oil that I've used in them. Maybe if I'm thinking, oh, I need to fulfill some fats, maybe I'm opting for sort of more foods like avocado that can be quite gentle. Things like peanut butter can be quite irritable, actually, and I've experienced that myself when I've opted that for fats. It's made me feel a bit funny if my gut's been off. PMS week, it affects us all, right? Sluggish, unmotivated. Yeah, solution opting for warm, fiber-rich meals, maybe some broths there as well. Magnesium is really helpful. Gentle training, just working with your body, doing what feels good. And yeah, life gets busy, things get stressful. This can result in you starting to eat crap, your gut feels worse, and then hey ho, you're stuck in that cycle. So you want to really try and focus on breaking the cycle and not trying to do everything all at once, but making one good choice. So that might just be opting for some hydration and a quick stretch. So just to kind of wrap up here, yeah, if you're feeling off, tired or stuck, you want to start by checking your fiber, hydration, and your movement. And again, this is where, in doubt, message me. Uh, Let me know what's going on. Let me know what we can tweak, give you some ideas. Because again, if your brain's feeling off, sometimes you just need that. Sometimes you just need, yeah, use the group as well. Sometimes you're like, do you know what? I just have no idea what I need to eat. Well, that's where we can all come together and bring those ideas forth. But yeah, just to wrap up, your gut influences your drive and your mood. So notice that. So good gut habits are going to equal consistent energy, better fitness outcomes. And again, movement isn't always just about the intensity. It's actually about momentum. It's keeping consistent and keeping something going. But yeah, when in doubt, eat to feel better, not just to be good. But yeah, that is all from me, ladies. Thank you. And again, if you're watching this back, be sure to message in the group and yeah, let's have a conversation about this and we can think of some ideas to help you. I hope that's been helpful.